Hello.
Hello guys, it's day 81 of our lockdown, which makes it June the 9th, which is getting quite close to my birthday now, less than a week.
Get those cards and postal orders in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not expecting it to be not a bit of a non-event, that's not fair, but it's going to be a weird birthday, because I usually do mark my birthday, and I'll at the very least have sort of some friends around or go out or something.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit strange not to do anything like that. But sort of been chatting about sort of some potential plans, and I think possibly afternoon video chat with my girls, and then maybe another evening over at my mum and dad's house in their garden, another takeaway perhaps,
And
just for a bit of socialising in a group.
We will be doing a birthday vlog as
Yep,
well.
doing birthday vlog early that day so that I can just leave it. But obviously it'll go out the next day. But we'll film it early, so there won't be much to report probably at that point.
It will go out on sort of 10 a.m. on the 16th on the YouTube, so it's the same as any other.
I love that you say on the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
On the YouTubes.
So you won't notice any real difference.
But you may notice that we don't have a... Sorry, have you noticed that as well?
Yeah.
Lucy has done a very stinky...
We were worried that Lucy was a little bit out of sorts.
And that would back up that theory.
What's going on in your inside, Lucy?
Oh dear me. Well, Lucy is not one...
Guts.
Oh dear, that is really quite potent.
Really unpleasant.
Oh God. Yeah, Lucy is not one to miss a meal. And actually we were doing a virtual pub quiz this evening. You look so unhappy.
I am quite unhappy. That'd be a good reaction video for YouTube, wouldn't it? Like, couple react to dog fart.
Oh, it's crikey. But yeah, so we had, so we were doing our virtual pub quiz, and then I had some food was delivered. So normally we're quite strict about feeding her dead on 8:30, which means from about 7 o'clock onwards she's very excited. But she didn't nag for her food, and it got to about 10, and then I just thought, oh, Lucy hasn't had her food. And she hadn't been nagging for it. And actually earlier she was very slobbery.
Chips or anything,
she wasn't, yeah, so she seems like basically fine, just a little bit off colour. So we'll be keeping an eye on her. But yeah, crikey, she won't be sleeping in the same bedroom with us if she keeps making those smells, because that was horrendous.
Almost enough to put me off my dinner, but not quite enough because I am very hungry.
Yeah, I got a takeaway, but Chris decided he was going to go his own way.
Well, our plan is this evening to have a nice, quiet, cosy evening and watch Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Because, as we've mentioned on the vlog before, we've been remaking some scenes from Groundhog Day for a fun kind of Facebook project with some other comedians and people who remaking a film.
It'd be good to rewatch it before we watch everyone's take on what they remake. So actually, if you guys might watch that as well, maybe fit in a little viewing of Groundhog Day beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the film. It's one of those films that pretty much everybody has seen, but it's been a while since I've seen it. It'll be good to sort of get a little rewatching in, and it's a good film anyway. Great film. Bill Murray. I'm of the opinion he can't really do anything wrong by me. He's a pretty solid candidate for any film. Love a bit of Bill Murray, but it's probably one of his best films, I would say.
Yes.
Top 5 certainly.
But what happened then was we were doing a quiz, which was fun. It was a nice one today, but you decided to get a takeaway, and I thought, well, as I'm not having a takeaway, I'm gonna have this pizza I've got in the freezer. I'm going to hold off, and I'm just going to enjoy my pizza in front of the movie rather than eating my pizza while we're trying to do a quiz.
Yeah.
But then, it was only as the quiz was coming to an end, you pointed out, well, we still need to vlog. And obviously it's nice to kind of do it, as fun as these are to do. Sometimes it's nice to kind of get them done, and then we can chill out and watch a film and relax a bit. We've made the rod for our own back, really, by just adamantly saying from the very start we'll do them every day. But we did discover even recently that if you miss a day, there's a lot to catch up on. So at some point, well, that's actually sort of something that we need to discuss. But you can't, as with everything at the moment, you can't really make plans because everything's so up in the air and so changeable that you can't really plan
things a week in advance, really, let alone sort of the future.
It's really hard to know what.
So, because I was sort of
Yeah.
wondering, like, we'll probably still be in some semblance, well, we will be in some semblance of lockdown by day 100, so we'll do something fun for that. But yeah, it's sort of, at what point do we sort of stop? Like, when we're both back in work, because that might be ages. Or it could happen sooner rather than later. But like, because I think we've got quite, I've got quite used to doing these, and I quite enjoy doing them. But maybe at some point they could become not a daily thing, and they're sort of more like a, I don't know,
Thrice weekly or something.
3 a week update on what's going on kind of thing.
Or we could go like the government and take weekends off.
Yeah, we could take weekends off, couldn't we? But I definitely don't think that should happen after a certain landmark, which, like us both still basically being at home in lockdown, is not a landmark. So even though other certain things are opening up, our lockdown, we said we were going to document our lockdown, and our lockdown is basically until we are out and about doing probably work-based things, really. So that could be some time yet. So, but yeah, the occasional night off might be nice. Because yeah, we're on 81 now. Bloody hell, 81 days. This is insane. And not really looking like it's going to let up particularly soon. So I think very easily we'll hit 100. So maybe take bets. Should we take some bets on what number we'll get up to before we miss one? Because actually, that's the thing. Even when one of us, it's usually been me, I've been a bit off colour or something, and I've had to sit out for an evening, we've still made sure we've put something up. So for us to miss one, it either has to be pre-planned that we're going to stop, or something awful is going to have to take us both out of commission. Hopefully we don't catch whatever made Lucy make that smell, and we're actually both desperately ill at the same time, but nobody wants to watch that.
I have 3 of us making those smells.
Crikey. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know, what would we consider to be a good landmark for the end of lockdown, when we're allowed to go to the pub, because that might be never again.
When comedy gigs come out, I might have something else to do with my evenings.
Yeah, I don't know, like, yeah, what's the landmark? So thoughts on that would be great, guys.
I've noticed that people, when we ask questions on the vlog, we occasionally get the occasional thing from some friends and things on Facebook. We don't get, and people occasionally comment on the vlog, but very rarely in response to actual questions that we've asked.
Well, Ian did respond with one of his suggestions for what we do for day 100 is dress up as each other.
Yes.
Which I can see there being some potential in that, but I don't really know, like, we're both basically permanently in pyjamas. I don't know how sort of shockingly, other than you having some makeup on and me not, and me wearing your glasses, I'm not cutting my hair. That's not happening. And I, funnily enough, don't have any wigs that look like your hair currently is.
Yeah, they don't make these wigs. No one wants these.
We are talking about, we're still in the middle of some filming projects, so we can't really do any physical alterations to ourselves in the interim. But I am caving that I will probably help with the hair. But what we will probably do is do what we did before and do like a reveal with that. So I won't do it on camera because I'll make a terrible job of it. But we'll do a before and then a pause and then a like Shazam, and hopefully you look happy.
Right.
I cut my dad's hair, but he just likes it like super short, so it's really easy. So I just like basically I get it all down to like a 4, and then I do it shorter on the like neck.
Well, I reckon
and then I just like use the like no guard thing to do like around the ears.
Thing is, I reckon I could probably live with that, but you wouldn't want it that short.
No, I wouldn't want it that short. I love your lovely floppy gorgeous hair. It'd be a waste. Look how gorgeous this hair is.
It's a bit greasy at the moment, but
so yeah, but I just don't know if I've got the skill set. Can you do YouTube tutorials on how to do a decent haircut?
Yeah, there must be. There's YouTube tutorials on everything, I imagine.
Because yeah, I'd like it to sort of keep a bit of length, but without sort of. I think like this, understandably, needs a bit of something because it's starting to get a bit mullety.
It just flops in my eyes when I'm trying to read a book.
So you want it to be above glasses length.
Yeah, it's just.
I could just
too
like
much.
hold it out and just
whack
it like an inch off the bottom of all of their hair.
I mentioned that we don't normally get a lot of kind of comments or responses to kind of questions that we ask on here, and I don't mean that to sound like a complaint or a moan. Like we
Step up your game, guys.
I mean, it's nice that people
How rude.
It's nice that people are watching, and you know, but it is fun when people engage, but it's not what we expect necessarily. But we did have like a nice socially distanced visit, didn't we?
Yeah,
from
we
your
did. Oh, it
friend's
was
day?
lush. Yeah, my friend Kim, well, our friend Kim, but I knew her first, so
Yeah,
she's
all
my
right.
friend Kim.
But she was saying that she likes to watch the vlogs sort of in the morning when she gets
Yeah.
up and when she's kind of
Yeah,
off
sort
her
of part of her morning routine, which actually I found quite touching.
It's
I think like that was like, oh, somebody's watching.
it's nice, yeah, it's nice, and it's nice to kind of hear how people are engaging with it, and you know how people are kind of
Yeah, and what she said, which I can imagine actually, sort of, she said it kind of just feels like hanging out. It's sort of, except it's like a conversation tootling on, but obviously that particular person can't pipe up. But
because we are putting out, it is a lot of content.
it is. I
It's
certainly
like,
don't expect anyone to watch
you
all
know,
of them, but some people are fairly avid viewers.
That's what I'm kind of curious about. Really, is like,
Ooh.
are people watching all of them?
Also,
Are
if you
people...
do comment on YouTube and you've got a YouTube username and you actually know us in real life, say who you are, because we don't know.
But
also, be curious to know if you don't know us and you're watching this and how that happened and what like
how you found the vlog. But there's so many episodes like
learning as we go here, guys.
It would be interesting to hear, like, have people been watching from the start? Has anyone kind of discovered it later on? Are people watching every day? If you're not watching every day, are you just sort of...
And if not, why not?
Did you start from the beginning and you're just kind of falling behind and you
God.
just watch one
God,
when you can?
81,
Or
so what would make that make
are you
about
just-
40-something hours now?
do you just watch the latest one as and when you can? Do you choose them based on screen grabs?
Well, my friend Jo said that she watches them based on the blurb, so she I think she said, and she might have been being quite kind at that point, but she said sort of like 1 or 2 a week, depending on if the blurb takes my interest. So it's why it's worth me agonising over the blurbs, because it might be the difference between a view or not. But yeah, essentially, give us some feedback, guys, because if there's stuff that you like us doing, we'll do more of it, and if there's stuff you don't like us doing, maybe we'll stop.
Jo, particularly, if this
Can't
happens
promise we'll
to
stop
be,
going on tangents.
if this happens to be in the 1 or 2 that you watch a week, let us know what your specific interests are, and we'll put more of that in the blurbs, won't
Yeah, definitely.
we? We'll definitely pander to people, blurb-wise.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, so, we should mention, by the way, we said yesterday that Chris tonight was going to be streaming his gig, so you might be there going, how did the gig go, guys? Because you looked ever so anxious about it, didn't you?
Yeah.
How'd the gig go, Chris?
Balls up that now.
Yeah, a little
Balls
bit.
that right up.
Not the
that
gig, because...
is tomorrow. By the time you're watching this tonight,
So that's
or
twice.
in the past. But and you could have had more notice as well. If you thought, oh, I would like to watch that, but I saw it a bit late, you probably could have done if I just told you it was another night.
Well,
in
hopefully
advance.
they followed the link and then went, Chris, you moron, that's
don't know
the
what you're doing.
10th and it's
Yeah.
the 9th today.
So
Yeah, that's happening tomorrow, so you've got an extra day to panic. Have you worked on your material today?
a bit.
A bit.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel a bit less panic, and also there's so many acts on. It's a jam-packed show, guys.
Yeah.
But we only have to do 5 minutes each.
You can do 5 minutes in your sleep.
Now the only thing is, I'm like the penultimate act.
Right.
So what that means, and I think it's just random. There's no prestige to that particularly. But what it does mean is
Who's headlining?
Barry Castanola.
I don't know who that is.
So,
Sorry, Barry.
Sorry, Baz. But I don't know if he likes being called Baz or
Bazza.
Bazza or. But anyway,
Hey, Bazza, the chances of him watching this are slim.
Yes. True and fair. You've never heard of him. He's never heard of us.
Nope, that's fine.
But
That
anyway,
is fine.
so I'm on right towards the end of the evening with all these comedians on, which does make me think anything I come up with that's vaguely topical
Might have been covered.
might have been covered. Even if I've got a unique angle on it, the subject might be so trampled into the ground at that point.
Yeah,
that
so it's
people are a bit
trying to
fed
think
up
of
with it.
what's not cliche about lockdown, because it's fairly unifying. Obviously, particularly I imagine for comedians, most comedians will have lost most of their work that makes their money, if not all of their work that makes their money, and most will be in some semblance of actual lockdown. Obviously, some comedians might also be key workers, but I'm just sort of assuming most people who are in comedy are probably in jobs where you can take off August and things to do the Edinburgh Festival and that sort of stuff. Teachers, I guess you could be a teacher in a stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because actually you finish early enough that you might be able to gig around the country and stuff. But most sort of career type jobs wouldn't be very conducive to also doing comedy. So I'm assuming that most people who are in comedy will be having a fairly lockdown. Like, 'cause some people are obviously still out and about and working, but it does mean that maybe the observations will be similar. And that, like, even though people aren't really doing a lot of stand-up at the moment, the kind of, like, just the memes and the sort of things that people are talking about on social media do seem to be fairly unifying, of everybody now lives in their pajamas. Everybody's either getting super buff or super fat, and I would not like to speak for you, but I am super fat.
I feel like my weight hasn't gone up especially, but despite that, what weight there is sort of congealed with the sort of roundness of the face and the belly. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of...
Well, you used to get, like, although you're walking Lucy every day, you used to get quite a lot of walking in every day, because you'd walk to work, which is about a 40-minute walk to the train station and back.
Yeah.
So you're racking up the walking time, and then walk to work on the other end, which is probably, what, 15-minute walk, give or take?
Yeah, and then I'd be on my feet a lot in the day.
Yeah, so just the activity level has probably dropped.
And I've stopped any effort, really, of kind of watching my diet, particularly.
Yeah, me too. Like there's so few pleasures at the moment that food has become a big fixture of my day.
It's a bit of a...
It's a bit comfort, isn't it?
I mean, talking about, like, you know, if you have a 9 to 5 that keeps you very busy all day and it's not conducive to comedy. Like, I work in a job that I've stayed in for like a decade because it's flexible and allows me to go and do comedy, and it is a bit demoralising thinking, well, comedy's not going to come back for ages, and probably much sooner than that I'm going to have to go back to commuting, getting up early and commuting to a job
that you essentially do in order to
allow...
For the
flexibility, that's the thing of the job, is I'm doing it for flexibility, and yet...
That you don't currently need.
The thing that I'm trying to be flexible for doesn't exist yet. So that's going to be a frustrating kind of...
Well,
time.
yeah, and it's also, I think, for a long time there's going to be effects. I don't know if people will shop on the high street as much as they previously did. I think people have got used to doing online shopping, so actually you might not get sort of as much custom in work, because obviously the eye clinic is routine appointments as well as emergency appointments, but maybe people book them in when they're going to be in town anyway, and you might have a bit of a drop off there.
Yeah, less people coming to town, less people feeling sort of flush with their money after all of it. But I'm lucky to have any sort of job to go back to, though. I should say that, because I know, you know, there are people whose job is 100% comedy. And for a lot of us, we spent years building CVs that we can send out to promoters to go, look, we do this gig, we do that, let me gig for you, and those CVs don't necessarily mean as much in other job interview situations. So a friend of mine, for example, on Facebook today was like, well, I got rejected for a job today, didn't even get called for an interview. You know, no. Do they not know that I do paid opening 20s? You know, it's outside of the world of comedy. Like, what does that mean?
I think you are underselling yourself there, because I think if you really boil it down, your CV isn't necessarily... Right, yeah, admittedly saying I've done this gig and I've done that gig isn't going to mean a lot to people who are outside of the industry, but... Writing, performing and advertising 6 years of Edinburgh is a skill set that would be transferable. Literally writing copy for things, like I think you could have a pretty flashy CV if you were that way inclined, but you're not really that sort of, like, I imagine you're not Mr. I big myself up and I put things through that kind of, like, aren't I impressive kind of... You're too self-deprecating.
I've got my comedy CV, and I think my regular job CV, I sort of lost that with when a laptop died or something.
Right.
And I sort of thought, well, that's fine, because I'm not intending on applying for any jobs. I'm just going to keep working on the comedy and things. And, well, maybe that... Who knows what the future holds. At this point, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But, anyway, on a brighter note...
Yeah.
Got a bit of zoo update for you.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, and he asked me if I'd seen the latest, and I said I don't know what's the latest, and I probably haven't, so he's got an update. So
well, that peek behind the curtain. I'm trying to make this slick, and you get...
No, well, I was curious. I was like, I want to point out that I don't know what this is.
You're pointing out the strings of the puppet show. So We talked yesterday on the vlog about how a lot of zoos are facing really difficult times.
Yeah.
And they're like
struggling. Well, they just don't have money coming in.
They don't have money, and they've got animals that obviously don't care if the money's coming in or not. They need feeding regardless.
Yeah.
And and they were in a position of being desperately unsure about what their futures and if they can feed the animals. And
you said Brighton News, so I'm assuming this is good news.
People are fundraising for them, which is good news. But they also had a petition going around. I think it was specifically Chester Zoo, or was it?
Chester Zoo was the sort of main one that was being talked about, but the petition that I shared was actually just to allow either to give assistance or to allow zoos to reopen.
That was the other thing, because fundraisers are great, but they also wanted to kind of reopen with social distancing. So, like, if you've been in lockdown, you've got kids that are bouncing off the walls. Hey, you can take them to a zoo.
A day at the zoo would be pretty great, I would have thought, for most families right now.
And a lot of zoos as well. There is quite a lot of space and there's quite a lot of room, so...
The bulk of zoo exhibits would be outdoors, you'd have thought, except for maybe your reptile house and your sort of nocturnal house and things. Most of them are outdoor exhibits. You might have like an indoor sort of viewing spot. But yeah, I would have thought with careful social... They wouldn't be able to have anything like their normal capacity.
I haven't been to the zoo.
Because they quite often crowd people in, but actually probably have a better experience in the zoo. Maybe they literally sell tickets in a day and...
I haven't been to the zoo for some time, but in my memory there wasn't ever much crowding at the zoo, apart from maybe at the sea lions.
When they do like certain, like at the penguin feeding and things like that, like when they have a certain thing happening, you tend to get crowds. But the rest of the time it's people milling about.
Let's face it though, most animals aren't as good as sea lions. So you're probably fine unless you're trying to look at the sea lions.
You've got a thing for sea lions. So it's cats and sea lions.
Sea lions are pretty great, aren't they?
I like the monkeys.
Monkeys are good too, actually.
Monkeys are pretty good.
I went to a really good. It's called
What's the news?
Open Zoo in Wales.
What's the zoo news?
Well, no, they're getting on. So the zoo news is that Chester Zoo have put out an announcement saying, thanks for everyone's efforts, we're now able to open from June 15th.
Hey! For my birthday! But I can't go there because I'm only allowed to travel 5 miles.
Neither of us drives.
But hey, that's bad news for us, but good news for zoos.
Broadly good news for us as well.
I'm being facetious, but yeah, that's lovely. So they're opening on Monday. That's great.
Yes.
So was that just because of the pressure that had been put on the government that they'd gone, okay, well, if you can do the social distancing, then you're allowed then?
Yeah.
Nice. Lovely.
So
see, petitions sometimes work.
Yeah. It's very weird times in that petitions and protests are actually making a difference.
Working.
Yeah.
Well, that was what I wanted to sort of talk about because obviously we've mentioned over the last few days like protests in general for the Black Lives Matter cause, but yeah, particularly the statue of Edward Colston coming down during the protest in Bristol. Now. The thing, like, this has divided people a little bit, because some people are sort of going, oh, well, you can't, like, it's a bit of a slippery slope. Some pretty dodgy dictators have taken down signs of the past and rewritten history and stuff, which is a fair point. And other people going, no, it's brilliant. They made history by doing this, and it's all very, like, a pivotal moment. The thing that I think is interesting to note is that of those guys doing that in Bristol, which we should say they had for several years been trying to get this statue taken down through the proper channels of appealing to the council and doing petitions and all that sort of stuff, and basically nothing ever happened. One protest in which the protesters get the old statue down themselves has led to, across the country and across the world actually, many other cities and mayors looking at their own statues and thinking about, through official means, either removing and donating to, say, like museums and things, rather than just getting rid of, or at least renaming, having plaques that sort of are amended for our modern sensibilities and are less celebratory, is that the right word, of whoever is depicted in the statue. But so the thing is, rioting and sort of taking matters into your own hands, whether or not you think it's the moral choice, gets results, doesn't it? Like, it does get results, because even though the people who maybe did this in the Bristol one might face legal ramifications, which is plausible, it seems to have been discussed, they sort of feel like they need to make an example of them, But if it's getting lots of other slave trader statues removed, then maybe the risk was worth the reward. It's got people talking about it, it's got people thinking about it, and it's essentially causing things to change. So ultimately, if you were of a sort of an activist sort of sensibility, you think, well, score. We got the job done and actually triggered getting even more of this done.
Right.
So
I shared a thing on Facebook. I think it was yesterday. It was a news story about Keir Starmer's appearance on a radio show and what his response had been, and he had basically said, you know, they shouldn't have done what they did. You know, the statue should be gone, but it should have been done through the proper channels,
right.
And that they shouldn't have sort of torn it down. And
I think the phrase that he used that got used in all the headlines about his interview was he thought it was completely wrong.
yes.
Now, they obviously don't put any nuance in headlines when they repeat
No.
that. They just put that, which sort of suggests he's going, this is absolutely outrageous, but he wasn't.
Now, I shared that story.
Yes.
And I think the phrase that I used was, for fuck's sake, Starmer.
Starmer?
For fuck's sake, Starmer. Because I felt a bit like, and when the government's doing so much wrong, I'd maybe say something populist about how this is good and sort of take the easy win.
Well, I don't think it would be an easy win, because I think all of your Daily Mail readers and your Express readers would be horrified that the leader of the opposition is essentially excusing and celebrating people for breaking the law.
Well, that is basically what a lot of people on my Facebook said, and they were kind of like, oh, well, you know, you got to think about he's got to
play to the crowd, doesn't he?
He's in an official capacity. He can't be seen to back it, you know, because he's got a role and responsibility. And what would the Daily Mail say and all this kind of thing, which I slightly resent that, you know, the supposedly left wing party leader has to pander to readers of the Daily Mail. But I get you got to get people to vote for you, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah.
But like, and I thought, oh, maybe I've been a bit overreacting, but you know, a couple of the people then commented when they were sort of saying, well, don't just read the headline, read the whole article. What did he actually? And almost implying that I had just seen the article, and I'm like, I had read the article.
Yes.
I still didn't agree with what he said.
Yeah, like for my lefty sensibilities, I wanted to see him be a little bit more on my side and a little bit more in step with my feeling. But I do see he's got to kind of play.
But I have seen people like the Mayor of Bristol and their statements that have come out that have felt a bit more like, I am saying the thing that I need to say, but I'm also giving a bit more of a nod and a wink to kind of this. I kind of agree with what's happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could have towed that line a bit more.
He could, because he did basically say, essentially, it should have been taken down a long time ago. Like, he's all for the statue not being there. He's just not for the sort of anarchy with the way it was taken down.
But I think we can look at the evidence now, a couple of days later, and say, like, well, not only is this one down, but they're now looking at getting other ones down around the country, and you go, oh, they shouldn't have done it, they should have gone through proper channels. They've been trying, even getting the plaque changed, so it mentioned his slavery, which is such a kind of minor thing relative to actually taking it down. That was taking years just to get a plaque worded properly and put up that addressed slavery, let alone taking it down.
Bureaucracy is slow and essentially does little.
The proper channels in this instance were not working, and I think it's scary for people because if protests start working, you know, you go, well, what's next, right? And then. And this
which
we
I guess
agree
is
with,
why they
but
have
I guess
to kind
for all
of
of us, you go, well, where's the line where it becomes anarchy and we disagree with what the thing is and people are protesting.
Well, that's the thing. It's dangerous. You do have to sort of keep.
But then I also think like racism is such a big issue, and if you're living under that, you know, every day of feeling like that oppression or that prejudice every day, then what do you do when the proper channels aren't working for you? And also, I kind of feel like, well, we discussed this earlier. With a statue, it's vandalism, inarguably, but it's not harming anyone's livelihood. It's not injuring anyone. It's not causing anyone any physical kind of pain or discomfort. Really, like there are so many worse things you could be doing. Like, you know,
I can see all the nuances of it, but essentially, I think it got some results, and the results I'm all for. So it's a bit simplistic, but. This particular instance, and there may be other times when I'm like, actually, no, that is a bit too far, or that's a bit ill thought out, whatever. But in this particular instance, I kind of feel like it was a win for the people on the side of the goodies, basically. So I'm all for it.
We can't wrap this up without issuing a correction.
Yes, actually, that was what I was going to go to. So I actually laughed out loud when I discovered a mistake I had made yesterday. If you were watching, I mentioned a very heartwarming story when we were talking about the plight of the zoos, which was that a way that people could support the zoos was by adopting animals, and that the Icelandic government had adopted all of Chester Zoo's penguins as a sort of nice gesture. The reason I laughed out loud is it wasn't Iceland the country, it was Iceland the supermarket that had actually adopted. It's still a lovely gesture. Well done, Iceland.
And they do some nice vegan burgers that Ellie's going to buy.
They do a great vegan range, guys. Get on that. But yes, so basically I'd seen several headlines and I had not read them because I didn't really think there was a lot more to read. But clearly you must always read the articles, because I'd seen Iceland adopt all 100 and something penguins at Chester Zoo. And I was like, well, that's all I need to know about that, isn't it? No! I see Iceland and I think country. Of course, I should have been thinking well-known, well-loved high street supermarket.
You also have a very good vegan range.
You also have a very good vegan range. Shop in Iceland, guys. But yeah, what a bunch of goodies. That's a nice story. Anyway, I also want to talk about a couple of other goodies which amused me immensely. Well, I told you about this and I was a bit baffled by it. And like, I'm a bit baffled by people being generally sort of out and out overt racists anyway, because first of all, that way of thinking is, well, just wrong and insane, and just, I don't get it. I'm not on that side of the coin. Generally speaking, even if I dislike a group of people, I kind of keep that to myself, because I just think, well, live and let live. I might not really like people who watch The X Factor, but okay, have at it. It doesn't do me any harm. But yeah, whatever my particular thing that I don't like is kind of, that's my thing to not like. But to be so fervently, like, you must, like, by now, if you are an out and out racist, you must know that it's an unpopular view to hold. So you'd think, right, well, okay, I'm a hateful bigot, but I'll at least keep that to my fucking self. But there are people out there that are so openly and comfortably racist, which obviously, as I say, baffles me anyway. But like, I can't imagine being this racist, right? I'm super racist. I hate everyone who isn't perfectly Caucasian and basically from the same town I'm from. Like, that is my level of racism. And I sit there being all hateful. And I think, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to check. I'm having a nice cup of tea while I'm being hateful. I'm going to check that the brand of tea that I drink haven't said anything nice about people of colour. I'm going to check. So I'm going to tweet them. So, Yorkshire Tea, I just want to say I'm really glad that you have, I'm chuffed to bits to see that you haven't been coming out with any pro-Black Lives Matter BS. Like, that is a level of racism that is astonishing and I think sort of speaks to mental illness. But like, are you checking with everyone? Are you like tweeting your toothpaste brand? Maybe like tweeting like your favorite sportswear, like who, like you're going through your cupboards going, right, oh, Crumpets, Warburtons, I hope you're racist, Colgate, I hope you're racist, hey guys, are you being super racist? I'm checking. But anyway, so yeah, tweeting your favorite tea brand just to sort of say, I'm really glad that you're not coming out against all this racist bullshit, because I'm really pro racist bullshit. So Yorkshire Tea, in credit to them, responded and just went, stop buying our tea. We fully intended to make a post. We were educating ourselves in the interim. Solidarity to the Black Lives Matter movement. And so then some other racists respond to this going, what? I'm going to have to change to PG Tips. And then PG Tips, credit to them, went, nope, you can't drink us either. Like, you're going to have to shop around because we are also, and then we're also anti-racist. And it's like, it's one thing because like, I run a business and I sort of like, it is a risky move when anything political is going on to sort of nail your colours to the mast on anything like this. But like, for somebody coming out of their way to find out your opinion on it, it would be a very bold move to be like, oh yeah, all for the racism. have at it, guys, drink the tea. But the thing that I loved about it, so when I saw this exchange, and I thought it was hilarious anyway, but then they came up with the hashtag solidarity, but tea obviously like the tea to drink. And I just thought that was kind of lovely. And good PR, well done PG Tips and Yorkshire Tea, because also they probably will continue to drink your tea even if they are racist, because they like tea drinking. But it's just sort of, I can't imagine being so hateful of something, anything, whatever it was, to just check that a business, a company that I have no affiliations with, just like, just want to check what you think. Like, what do you think about gay people, guys?
That's not even annoyed at the thing the tea company has said, just like making assumptions based on their silence and being pleased that based on your racist assumption. Did we talk about the guy who tweeted, like, there was a football team?
Sorry, I shouldn't have left my phone on.
That's all right. There's a football team who were tweeting some stuff about Black Lives Matter, and one of their fans went, right, well...
cancel my season ticket.
Yeah, this is pathetic, I think was the phrase used. It's pathetic, cancel my season ticket. And the team just tweeted back, you won't be missed. Bye.
Toodles.
Yeah,
it's lovely when the rubbish takes itself out, really, isn't it? Like, it's just, okay, all these people just telling on themselves.
When I was a kid,
bye.
I grew up in a very white area, and there weren't many just black or Asian ethnic minority people around.
No.
And so
I imagine it's still quite a...
Yeah,
that's still the case.
Very possibly. Well, I mean, not so much in kind of Luton and Bedford, but maybe in the surrounding smaller towns and villages, and certainly where I was growing up. I don't really know the complexion of it now, I can't speak to that, but I wasn't aware of any racism. Now, for all I know, it was riddled with racists, but certainly I wasn't aware of it.
Because it wasn't a very diverse...
I was a kid, so
surrounding, you probably never saw it firsthand.
Well, exactly, like there wasn't really a kind of minority population to kind of face abuse in that sense, you know. And I guess all the white people, even the racist ones, were just very secure and comfortable in their kind of white neighbourhoods.
Didn't feel the need to bring it up.
I don't mean to say that they were racist, or you know, I'm just saying, you know, if they weren't cause for it to come out. Exactly.
Really, I guess you wouldn't know.
And I, as a child, knowing that racism was wrong, and having heard of things like "love thy neighbour" and things in the 70s, and just kind of really thought that racism was a thing that had been consigned a bit to the past, which was naive. I didn't think that there were no racists left, but I did think, like you say...
You were a kid, though. You were allowed to be naive.
But I didn't think there were no racists, but I did think, well, people get that it's a bad idea, or that it's unpopular.
People would be at least
they at least keep it to themselves and
closeted about it.
Yeah, act a bit shifty about it, yeah. So I was very surprised when I moved to Northampton. Again, not necessarily racist as an entire place, but a place where there were a much more diverse makeup to the culture in Northampton, and then white people would say racist things to me, you know, almost like he's white, he'll get it, just assuming that would be fine, like not thinking that I might be uncomfortable or call them on it.
It's like that taxi driver that I had.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, sorry, this is off point, but it shows the same kind of, like, unnecessary hatred, but the level of comfort that you have to say this to someone you don't know. There was some, obviously, actually, this is another thing, a wonderful thing that the Welsh government have done, is they've said all homeless people that were housed due to COVID will remain housed.
Yes.
Nobody needs to go back on the streets. They're going to make sure it's going to be looked after. But on the issue of homelessness, a taxi driver I had on a very short journey, it's probably less than 10 minutes from work to here. There's some tents on the side of the road under an underpass on the way into town, which is becoming over the last few years more and more common sight. That'll be down to austerity measures mainly, I would say. But anyway, so you see it sort of more and more often, and I think that's across the whole country. I don't think that's a Newport-centric thing. I think that happens everywhere. But this taxi driver just sort of said, "What do you think of that then?" And I went, "What, homeless people?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh, I think it's really sad, and I feel really sorry for anyone who has to sort of live so uncertainly." He said, "Oh, really? I think they should all be rounded up and shot." And I don't know what you say to that.
I mean,
I'd already sort of kind of made it clear that I wasn't going to agree with him, but he still went for it. And I was horrified.
I don't know if he'd be pleased that they're no longer on the streets, or fuming that they're not going to be flung back on the streets.
Being given a house for nothing, I would have thought. It was awful.
So. But
I think we've gone on ages.
The point I was going to make about Northampton and everything,
Yes.
and that is that was back in the days before social media.
Right.
So you had to actually interact with people. It happened a lot less frequently. But now people are very casual about, you know, I mean, some of the arguments we've had today about race with idiots online.
More on that tomorrow, probably.
Oh, okay, cool. Yes, it's the longest one ever, and it's not on. We need to wrap things up. Like and subscribe, guys.
There's absolutely zero shame in it. Not a bit.